With the L.A. mayor's race just 5 days away, Spencer Pratt hitting the Fox and Friends curvy couch this morning and taking a flamethrower to the liberals who burned his house down.
I'm the look-around candidate. I do basics. I don't do national politics. I don't do parties. I just say, look, they're stealing all of our tax money to give it to drug addicts.
Is Nithya Raman considered more left than Karen Bass?
That woman has had, I think, almost 5 years. She's been the chair of the homeless housing department for the last 3 years. The drug addicts that are attacking moms that are naked in front of kids, she's not even going to be a conversation. We should just focus on Bass.
And Jimmy Kimmel's taking a break from TDS for some Pratt derangement syndrome.
His profession is to be the screaming jerk on reality shows. The difference between Donald Trump and this guy is Donald Trump actually had a job before he was on a reality show. Another narcissist looking for attention. And are we really gonna risk repeating that mistake we made with Trump in LA of all places? Mayor should not be your first job.
All right, Kilmeade, you sat across from Spencer this morning. What was your impression?
First off, is he talking about the Seattle mayor? Because it was her first job. She was living with her parents before she got it. I'm really impressed. He is extremely sure of himself. I listened to it the first time. I didn't know anything about the Hills. I listened to 3.5 hours him with Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan knows Los Angeles because he left it. Mm-hmm. He knows the reason why. He knows why he liked it. And he was able to not only say these are the problems, but this is what I would do. Now, he's going to get pushback from the city council, but he's going to make sure that they know exactly where he stands. And I think that this guy is going to win. He is confident that he's going to win June 2nd, not November. If you get over 50%, I did not know this. You guys probably did. If you get over 50% in June, you don't need it in November. So he thinks he's got it. He's not worried about the ballot problem, where if you're in Los Angeles, everybody gets a ballot. That is Trump flipped out and feels down about him winning because of the ballot problem. But I think he understands what's going on, and I'm pumped. Because I always said, whoever Paris Hilton is voting for, you got my vote. She's in. Jeannie Buss is in. Catherine McPhee's in. By far the best contestant on American Idol. Jenny McCarthy's in. And guess who else is in? Oh. Jamie Foxx and Leo DiCaprio. So if celebrities are in, that's all I need.
That's right. Jessica, why is Kimmel going after this guy? I mean, what's the deal? He lives in L.A. He knows how nasty it is.
He actually, if you listen to the whole monologue about it, Kimmel admitted a lot of fault with L.A. that I have not heard him talk about before. Like, he recognized what was going on in the streets, looking around and thinking, like, we are not getting results out of this leadership. He said, you got to find somewhere else to look, which that would be the council member, I guess, who's also running, Raman, who has the highest favorability of anyone. Spencer Pratt has the lowest by miles. Listen, I don't think he's getting 50%. On Tuesday, I think he will go to the runoff with Karen Bass, and then this will get extremely tribal, because he can say, I don't do parties, but he's a Republican who's running as an independent. And LA is a left-leaning city. That's just the reality. They want better results, better solutions, and better leadership, but this is pushing them. And his
but
media
it's like 15
tour,
years you've had Democrats run the town, and it's a disaster. Why would you not try something different?
Especially after the fire.
Right.
And he has every right to be upset about that. Kimmel was talking about that as well. But showing up, and I'm glad that you had him, and I'm glad he's going on Gutfeld, and it's good for ratings and for a Twitter candidacy to some degree. But trying to reach people who are voting in the LA mayor's race, but going on Fox and Friends and being adored by you, who does not have the same politics as me,
but you know, this is the tail end. I mean, he didn't start with us.
I'm just saying, your final push is to get people who are right-leaning to back you. He's getting a ton of money from outside of the state that's pouring in. Yes, he has those celebrities, but a lot of his support is on your phone, and I'm curious to see how much of that manifests on the polls. On Tuesday, it will be substantive, but I don't think like 50% seems like a total pipe dream.
I guarantee he's going to win.
You're guaranteeing? All right.
If not, it may be in June.
Trust me, I've gone there before, Kilmeade. You don't always want to be that sure of yourself.
Do you tape this show?
Greg, so you have him on tonight.
Yeah.
You're really going to put the screws to him.
Yes. No, you know, Pratt's biggest sin is one of Trump's biggest sins and one of this show's biggest sins, which is the sin of noticing. You know, you're not supposed to notice the problems because that is a betrayal to the cause. You know, if you notice the corruption and the incompetence of Democrat leaders, you're helping Republicans. and that makes you a traitor. Every time you talk about crime or homelessness or the sheer chaos on the streets, you're pointing out the handiwork of the left and left-leaning cities. And a good sheep doesn't do that. You know, a good sheep just, you know, takes the mugging, lies back, and enjoys it. But if you dare step out of it, if you notice, remember, noticing things is racist. If you notice a pattern, like the crime is just here, the homelessness is here, that is racist. And it is funny listening to Kimmel talk about looking for attention. The guy that was on the Man Show, having women with large breasts jumping up and down on a trampoline. Celebrities calling other people narcissists when narcissism is an ingredient to becoming a celebrity is pretty funny. The difference with somebody like Pratt and Trump, who I would say have probably a healthy level of narcissism, is that your quest for success has to align with the general desires of the citizens. That it doesn't, if what I do personally, if what makes me feel good personally makes everybody else feel good, who cares if I'm a narcissist? But if you're a narcissist and it's counter to everybody else, I would say something like Kimmel or Colbert, whose political beliefs brought a showdown. That's narcissism.
Well, let's turn it over to the biggest narcissist around the table.
Thank you so much. Here's a great reason to do Fox. And it's not just to make Brian happy or to please Brian. Fox has the highest number of Democrats and independents that watch than anyone else. So you can be Karen Bass and keep talking to Morning Joe and do that over and over again and keep winning that primary. He knows that he's got a bigger canvas to paint on. And also, he answers every question with no talking points. He doesn't have any. It's super refreshing. So if you're an independent or a Democrat who's thinking, I can't take this anymore, and especially on the homelessness front, the woman who is running, Raymond,
Like
it reminds me of what happened in New York. Remember when de Blasio gave his wife $1 billion to deal with homelessness, and they had to admit that $898 million of it, they have no idea where it went because nothing ever happened. He's literally the guy who got sick of government because he's paying all this taxes, and he's seen government fail. So he decided to run. That's like the best reason to decide to run for office, like you in New Jersey.
Like me in New Jersey.
I wasn't.
Jessica, do you really want to dig yourself deeper?
No. Well, I am on a conservative-leaning program. I know how many Democrats and independents are watching. I just think that you need to make a closing argument to absolutely everybody, and that getting endorsements from Republicans doesn't necessarily help you with people you have to sway over.
Okay, so
It's not about
people
getting
that love LA.
It's about millions of people watching.
Yeah.
But
You want endorsements from people who love the town you're running to govern. So what is he going to say? I don't want your endorsement?
no.
You want to clean up LA too? Yeah, don't say that out
That's not
loud.
what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
But you have 5 more days. You have 5. This isn't the last day. So you have 5 more days to go to Los Angeles and work the streets.
And he did CNN.
Well, not work the streets.
Work the streets.
You know what I mean. In a healthy way, in a political way.
Okay. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.